The FBI agent pushed the photo across the table. My 7-year-old son, Brody's school picture, stared back at me, his gap-toothed smile frozen in time. Agent Rivera leaned forward, his voice cold and measured. "Your husband says you never wanted children, Mrs. Novak. He says you might have finally snapped." I looked at my husband Philip sitting there in his wrinkled polo shirt, the same one he'd worn to the reunion. He was nodding along with the detective, his eyes avoiding mine completely. "She said it just last week," Philip told them. "She said she wished she could just disappear, start over somewhere without all the responsibility." "That's not what I said." The words ripped from my throat. "I said I missed having time to read a book. I said I missed drinking coffee while it was still hot." My mother-in-law, Dorothy, sat beside Philip, her perfectly manicured hand on his shoulder. "Jenna has always been overwhelmed," she added, her voice dripping with fake concern. "I've watched her lose her temper with those children. Just last month she screamed at Brody for spilling juice. He poured it on his sister's homework on purpose. Any mother would have raised her voice." But no one was listening to me. My own sister Renee sat in the corner, studying her hands. My father stood by the door like he was ready to run. They all avoided my eyes like I was something dangerous, something capable of the unthinkable. Agent Cole spread out more photos, pictures of our family at various gatherings, pictures where I looked tired, pictures where I wasn't smiling. "Your family members have expressed concerns about your mental state, Mrs. Novak. They say you've been taking anxiety medication, that you've been acting erratically." "My doctor prescribed that after my mother died last year. This is insane. My son is missing and you're treating me like a criminal." "Then where is he?" Rivera asked flatly. "You were the last person seen with him. Your mother-in-law saw you walking with him toward the parking area. 40 minutes later, he was gone." The interrogation room walls felt like they were closing in. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, harsh and unforgiving. This was hour 6 of questioning, and instead of looking for Brody, they were looking at me. That's when the door opened. My 9-year-old daughter, Skylar, walked in, clutching her tablet to her chest. She wasn't supposed to be there. She was supposed to be at Dorothy's house, safe and away from all this madness. "I need to show you something," Skylar said, her small voice cutting through the tension. She looked directly at Agent Rivera, then at her father. "I have a video of what really happened to Brody." Philip stood up. "Skylar, honey, this isn't the time." "Dad, stop protecting Grandma." She opened her tablet with steady hands. "I have a video of Grandma and Uncle Mark putting my brother in their car trunk. I recorded the whole thing." The room went completely silent. You could hear heart stopping. Breathing ceased. Reality shifting. Dorothy's face went white as paper. Philip's mouth opened, but no words came out. "That's impossible," Dorothy whispered. Skylar turned the tablet screen toward Agent Rivera. "It's not impossible. It's evidence. And you've been blaming my mom while Grandma had Brody the whole time." Rivera took the tablet, his professional composure cracking. On the screen, clear as day, was Dorothy leading my son by the hand, Mark beside her. My baby boy trusting his grandmother, the trunk of her Cadillac opening like a mouth ready to swallow him whole. "Play it," I said, my voice stronger than I'd felt in hours. "Play it so everyone can see who the real monster is in this room." The Garrison family reunion happens every 4th of July at my in-laws' lake house in Michigan. 60 acres of property where kids run wild and adults drink too much. I'm Jenna Novak, and until that day, I thought my biggest problem was Dorothy, my mother-in-law, constantly undermining my parenting at every opportunity. "Jenna lets those kids eat too much sugar," Dorothy would announce at every gathering, her voice carrying across the yard like she was making a public service announcement. When Philip was young, I never allowed such behavior. Children need structure, not friendship from their parents. That morning started like every 4th of July for the past 11 years. Brody bounced on our bed at 6 in the morning, his energy already at maximum capacity. "Mom, can I wear my Captain America shirt to the party?" His gap-toothed smile melted my heart the way it always did. He'd lost that front tooth just 2 weeks ago, and he was so proud of the gap. Skylar was already dressed and sitting at the kitchen table, organizing her colored pencils in her backpack with the precision of a surgeon. She never went anywhere without her art supplies and her tablet for recording what she called her nature documentaries. She'd been obsessed with David Attenborough videos lately, narrating everything in a British accent that made Brody giggle uncontrollably. "You sure you want to go today?" Philip asked me while shaving, his reflection meeting my eyes in the bathroom mirror. "You know my mother will just criticize everything you do. Last year, she made you cry over the potato salad." "She didn't make me cry. I had allergies," I lied, folding Brody's swim trunks into our beach bag. "Besides, it's family. We show up. We smile. We survive. That's what we do." Philip rinsed his razor and turned to face me. "We could say Brody's sick. Make an excuse. Your mother would show up here with a thermometer and a priest to perform an exorcism. You know that's worse than just going." He laughed, but it was hollow. We both knew Dorothy would find a way to make me feel inadequate whether we attended or not. At least at the reunion, there would be witnesses to her passive aggression. The drive took 3 hours through Michigan summer. Traffic. Philip played his favorite podcast about financial planning and investment strategies, while the kids watched downloaded movies on their tablets. I stared out the window at the passing farmland, mentally preparing my responses to Dorothy's inevitable criticisms. "Thank you for your concern. I'll take that into consideration." How interesting. My therapist had given me these neutral phrases to use instead of defending myself, which only gave Dorothy more ammunition. "Mom, can we swim first thing when we get there?" Brody asked, pulling out one earbud. "After we say hello to everyone, baby. Manners first, then fun." "Grandma Dorothy says manners are caught, not taught," he replied, and I bit my tongue hard enough to taste blood. "Grandma Dorothy says a lot of things," Skylar muttered, not looking up from her tablet where she was editing a video of butterflies she'd filmed in our backyard. "Be nice," Philip warned, but his heart wasn't in it. Even he knew his mother was difficult. The gravel driveway crunched under our tires as we pulled up to the lake house. It was a massive cedar-sided structure that Dorothy liked to call rustic, but had been renovated with every modern luxury imaginable. 43 relatives were already there, their cars lined up like soldiers along the curved driveway. The smell of charcoal and lighter fluid mixed with citronella candles meant Uncle Roger was already drunk and manning the grill. Kids splashed in the lake, while adults clustered around coolers full of beer and White Claw. The sound of classic rock drifted from speakers hidden in the landscaping. Dorothy had hired a DJ this year, apparently deciding that Roger's Bluetooth speaker wasn't sophisticated enough. Dorothy immediately swooped in before we even closed the car doors. She was wearing white linen pants and a navy blazer with gold buttons, looking like she was hosting a yacht club gathering instead of a family barbecue. "Philip, darling." She pulled him into a hug that lasted just long enough to be uncomfortable. Then she turned to me with that smile that never reached her eyes. "Jenna, I see you brought store-bought rolls again." "I made them from scratch, actually. Got up at 5 this morning to finish them." "Of course you did." Her tone suggested I was lying. "Well, they'll have to do. I've put out some proper bakery ones just in case." Mark appeared beside her, already holding a beer, even though it was barely noon. His girlfriend of the month, whose name I hadn't bothered to learn yet, hung on his arm, looking bored. "Hey, family, kids are getting big." Mark roughed up Brody's hair. "This little man ready to catch some fish with Uncle Mark?" "Can I, Mom?" Brody's eyes lit up. "After lunch, buddy. Let's get settled first." Everything felt normal, forced, tense, slightly miserable, but normal. Our family's version of normal, anyway. By 3 in the afternoon, the heat was oppressive, the kind of Michigan humidity that makes your clothes stick to your skin and your temper short. I was in the kitchen refilling water bottles for the kids when I realized I hadn't seen Brody for at least 20 minutes. Not unusual at these gatherings where cousins formed packs and roamed the property like small wildlife, but something made me pause. "Skylar, where's your brother?" I asked, finding her under the willow tree with her tablet. She looked up from the screen where she was editing a video of dragonflies she'd filmed by the dock. "He was with Cousin Tyler by the tire swing. They were having a contest to see who could jump the farthest." The tire swing hung empty from the big oak tree, creaking slightly in the breeze. Tyler was now by the volleyball net with the older kids. "Tyler, where's Brody?" "I don't know, Aunt Jenna. He said he was thirsty and went to get a juice box. That was a while ago." The first prickle of worry started at the base of my skull. "How long is a while?" Tyler shrugged. "Maybe an hour?" I walked quickly toward the house, calling out, "Brody, time for snacks. Brody, I have cookies." Nothing. The house was full of adults escaping the heat, but no Brody. I checked every bathroom, every bedroom, the basement where the kids sometimes played video games. His Captain America action figure sat on the kitchen counter where he'd left it earlier, and that's when real fear kicked in. Brody never went anywhere without that toy. "Has anyone seen Brody?" I asked the group of adults gathered around the kitchen island. "Kids wander," Dorothy said, waving her wine glass dismissively. "Children need freedom, Jenna. You can't helicopter parent forever. He's probably found a frog to chase." "He's 7 years old, Dorothy. When did you last see him?" "You're overreacting, as usual. This is a safe space. Family only. What could possibly happen?" But other parents started to understand my concern. My sister Renee put down her drink. "I'll check the boathouse." My father stood up from his chair. "I'll walk the tree line." More family members joined the search. We called his name, checked every structure on the property. The tool shed, the old barn, behind the garage, inside every car. Philip emerged from the house, clearly annoyed by the disruption. "What's all the yelling about?" "I can't find Brody. No one has seen him for over an hour." "He's probably hiding. You know how he gets when you smother him. Last week, you wouldn't let him ride his bike to the corner store, and he hid in the basement for 2 hours. That's completely different, Philip. He was making a point. This isn't that. Something's wrong. You always assume the worst. And you always assume I'm overreacting." The search intensified. 30 minutes became 45, an hour. My chest was so tight I could barely breathe. Renee found his shoe by the parking area, just one shoe, his left sneaker with the Lightning McQueen laces. "This was by the gravel," she said, handing it to me. "Call 911, I said, my voice cracking. "Let's not be dramatic," Philip said, but his voice wavered now, the reality starting to sink in. Dorothy interjected, her voice sharp. "If you hadn't let him run wild all the time, Jenna, he'd know to stay close. This is what happens when children have no boundaries." "Your property is 60 acres, Dorothy. Where is my son?" "Don't raise your voice at me. This is your fault for not watching him properly." "I was getting water for all the kids. I was gone for 5 minutes." Clearly, that was 5 minutes too long. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her, but instead I dialed 911 myself. The sheriff arrived at 4:47 p.m., followed by state police, and by sunset, the FBI had taken over. They found no trace of Brody except that shoe and his action figure. No witnesses saw him leave. No strange cars had been spotted. Security cameras from the gas station 2 miles away showed nothing unusual. Agent Rivera pulled me aside as the sun set, the sky painted red like a warning. "Mrs. Novak, we need to discuss some concerning things your husband has told us." "What things?" "He says you've been struggling with motherhood, that you recently mentioned wishing you'd never had children." My blood turned to ice water. "That's not what I said. I made a joke about missing sleeping in on Saturdays. Every parent says things like that." "He also mentioned you've been taking anxiety medication, that you've had angry outbursts. Your mother-in-law corroborates these concerns. She says you were the last person seen with Brody." I looked across the room at Philip, who was talking to another agent, gesturing with his hands. Dorothy stood beside him, rubbing his back, both of them glancing at me like I was a suspect, not a mother whose child was missing. The FBI moved me to a separate room in the lake house, Dorothy's home office that smelled like leather and judgment. Agent Rivera and Agent Cole sat across from me like I was a criminal instead of a terrified mother. The wooden chair felt hard beneath me, and I could hear my family's voices through the walls, discussing me like I wasn't there. "Jenna," Rivera said, opening a notebook, "your husband claims you were the last person with Brody. He says you took him to get something from your car around 2:30 p.m. That's a complete lie. I was in the kitchen with at least 12 other people. Ask Aunt Margaret, ask Cousin Linda, ask anyone who was actually there instead of drinking beer by the pool. Your mother-in-law corroborates his story. She says she distinctly saw you walking with Brody toward the parking area, holding his hand. Dorothy hates me. She's been trying to break up my marriage since the day Philip proposed. This is insane." Cole leaned forward, his face sympathetic but firm. "Several family members have expressed concerns about your mental state. Your sister Renee mentioned you called her crying last month, saying you were overwhelmed and couldn't handle everything anymore. My cat died. Whiskers, who I'd had for 15 years, died, and I was sad. Since when is grief a crime? Your father says you've seemed distant lately. Your brother-in-law Mark says you barely spoke at Easter dinner. Because Mark spent Easter dinner describing his sexual conquests in detail. I was avoiding him, not having a breakdown. They grilled me for hours. Where did you hide him? Did you hurt him? Was it an accident? Did you plan this? The questions came faster and harder while my son was out there somewhere, scared and alone, and no one was actually looking for him. I want a lawyer, I finally said, my voice hoarse from answering the same questions 50 different ways. That's your right, Rivera said coldly, but innocent people usually don't need lawyers. It makes you look guilty. Being accused makes me look guilty. My husband and his mother lying makes me look guilty. I don't care how it looks anymore. I want a lawyer, and I want you to find my son. They released me at 2 a.m. with instructions not to leave town. The lake house was empty, except for Philip, who was sitting in the dark living room with a glass of whiskey. Where's Skylar? I asked. My mother took her to her house, just until this is sorted out. Sorted out? You mean until they arrest me for something I didn't do? He wouldn't look at me. Jenna, you have to admit you've been struggling. The medication, the mood swings, the way you snapped at Brody last week about his room. Every mother snaps occasionally. That doesn't make me a killer. Don't say that word. Why not? That's what you told them, isn't it? That's what you think? I don't know what to think anymore. I drove home alone to our empty house. The silence was deafening. Brody's cereal bowl still sat on the counter from that morning, a few Cheerios floating in warm milk. His iPad was still paused on a Minecraft video he'd been watching during breakfast. I collapsed on his bed, clutching his stuffed dinosaur that smelled like him, like grass stains and bubblegum shampoo. My phone buzzed with text after text. Renee, Jenna, what really happened? People are saying things. My father, the FBI says you're not cooperating. Just tell the truth and this will all be over. Mark, Philip's devastated. How could you do this to him? Even my best friend from college. I saw the news. I'm here if you need to talk about what happened. Everyone assumed I was guilty. Everyone believed I had hurt my baby. I didn't sleep. At sunrise, I made a decision. If the FBI wasn't going to look for Brody, I would. I drove back to the lake house alone, ignoring the missed calls from the lawyer my cousin had recommended. The property was wrapped in yellow tape, but I ducked under it. Maybe I'd missed something. Maybe Brody was hiding somewhere, scared and waiting for Mommy to find him. I searched every place we'd already looked, calling his name until my throat was raw. I was checking the old storm cellar when my phone rang. Skylar's face appeared on the screen. Mom, she whispered, and I could hear her crying. I need to show you something, but don't tell Dad or Grandma. They keep saying awful things about you, and I'm scared. Where are you, baby? At Grandma's house. Can you come? Park down the street at the yellow house with the garden gnomes. I'll sneak out through the basement. Mom, I have proof you didn't hurt Brody. What kind of proof? Just come, please. I can't let Grandma see me talking to you. She said I'm not allowed to call you anymore. My hands shook as I started the car. Whatever Skylar had found, it was important enough for my rule-following daughter to sneak around. That alone told me everything. I parked 3 houses away from Dorothy's Colonial, behind a contractor's van that provided good cover. My hands trembled as I watched the basement door. Every second felt like an hour until Skylar's small figure slipped out, clutching her tablet to her chest like a life preserver. She ran to my car, yanking open the door and diving inside. Mom, I'm so scared to tell anyone else. They keep saying terrible things about you. Grandma said you're sick in the head. Dad just nods and agrees with everything she says. What is it, baby? What did you find? Her fingers shook as she opened her tablet, entering her passcode twice because she kept hitting the wrong numbers. Remember how I was making that nature documentary about butterflies? I had my tablet propped against the garden statue, recording the whole flower bed for a time-lapse. But the camera angle was wider than I thought. She pulled up a video file dated July 4th, 2:47 p.m. The timestamp made my heart race. That was exactly when I was supposedly making Brody disappear. Watch the background, Mom. Behind the roses. The video showed the garden, flowers swaying gently in the breeze. But in the background, the parking area was clearly visible. My blood turned to ice as I watched Dorothy walk into frame, holding Brody's hand. Mark was with them, carrying what looked like a juice box and a bag of chips. "Come on, buddy." Mark's voice was faint but audible on the recording. "Grandma's taking you for special ice cream, the good stuff from that place in town you love." "But Mom said to stay at the party," Brody protested, his little voice making my heart shatter. "She said I could swim after snack time." "This is a surprise for Mommy," Dorothy said, her voice sweet like poisoned honey. "She's been so tired lately, hasn't she? We're going to give her a break and bring her back her favorite ice cream, too." They led him to Dorothy's white Cadillac. Then Mark said something that made my stomach drop. "Hey, little man, want to play a game, like hide and seek but better?" "What kind of game?" Brody asked. Dorothy opened the trunk. "Climb in here, sweetheart. Just for a minute. It's like a secret fort. We're going to surprise everyone. You'll pop out and everyone will laugh and laugh." "I don't want to get in the trunk, Grandma. It's dark." "Don't be a baby," Mark said, his tone shifting. "Big boys aren't scared of the dark. You're a big boy, right?" "Mom says I shouldn't go in trunks. She says it's dangerous." "Well, Mommy isn't here, is she?" Dorothy's voice had an edge now. "And Grandma knows better. Get in, Brody, now." The video showed my 7-year-old son reluctantly climbing into the trunk. Dorothy handed him the juice box and chips, like that made it okay. Then they closed the trunk. Dorothy and Mark got in the car and drove away. The timestamp showed 2:52 p.m. During those exact minutes, I had been in the kitchen, surrounded by witnesses, helping Aunt Margaret frost cupcakes. "Skylar, we have to show this to the FBI right now." "But Grandma will be in trouble. Dad will be mad at me." "Honey, Grandma took Brody. She lied to the police. She let them blame me while she had him the whole time. We need to find your brother." I drove straight to the FBI field office, running red lights, not caring if I got pulled over. Skylar held my hand as we burst through the doors. The security guard stood up, alarmed. "I need Agent Rivera immediately. My daughter has video evidence about my missing son." Rivera appeared within minutes, Cole behind him. "Mrs. Novak, you shouldn't be here without your lawyer. Watch this video and then tell me I need a lawyer." Skylar handed over her tablet with steady hands. "My grandmother kidnapped my brother. I have it all recorded." Rivera watched the footage once. His face went pale. He watched it again. Then a third time. "Jesus Christ, Cole, get everyone now." "That's my mother-in-law putting my child in a trunk while you've been interrogating me," I said, my voice deadly calm. "She's had him this entire time." Rivera was already on his phone, barking orders. "I need units at Dorothy Novak's residence immediately, and get me a warrant for Mark Novak's properties, all of them." Within an hour, they had Dorothy and Mark in custody. Dorothy broke after 20 minutes of questioning, faster than I had after 6 hours. "We weren't kidnapping him," she sobbed in the interrogation room, mascara running down her face. "We were protecting him. Jenna's unstable. She's on medication. She yells at those children. We took Brody to Mark's cabin to keep him safe until she could get help." "You put a 7-year-old in a trunk," Rivera said flatly. "Then you lied to federal agents. You let us investigate his mother while you had him the entire time. Where is he?" "At Mark's cabin, with Stephanie. She's taking good care of him." Mark's cabin was 40 miles north, a place I'd never been because Dorothy always said it was family only, and apparently I didn't count. The FBI convoy tore through the Michigan backroads toward Mark's cabin, sirens screaming. I rode with Rivera, gripping the door handle while Skylar stayed at the office with a child advocate. 40 miles never felt so long. When we finally pulled up to the isolated cabin, I saw Mark's girlfriend Stephanie on the porch, her face white with shock as federal agents surrounded the property. "Where is my son?" I screamed, jumping out before Rivera fully stopped the car. "He's inside. He's okay. I didn't know he was missing, I swear. Dorothy said you had a breakdown and needed a few days." I pushed past her into the cabin. Brody sat on the couch watching cartoons, eating cereal like it was any other morning. When he saw me, his face crumpled. "Mommy, Grandma said you were sick. She said I couldn't come home yet." He flew into my arms, sobbing so hard his whole body shook. "I wanted to come home. I wanted you. She wouldn't let me call you." "You're safe now, baby. You're safe. Mommy's here." "Grandma lied to me. She said you didn't want me around right now." "That will never be true, you hear me? I will always want you around. Always." The ride back was quiet except for Brody's occasional sniffles. At the FBI office, Philip stood frozen as they played Skylar's video on a large monitor. His face went through every emotion possible before landing on devastation. "I didn't know," he kept repeating. "I swear I didn't know. Mom said she saw you with him. I believed her. Oh God, I believed her." "You chose to believe her," I said quietly, holding Brody tighter. "You told them I resented having kids. You gave them ammunition to suspect me of murdering our son." "Jenna, I'm sorry. I was scared and confused. When Mom said she saw you, I just thought maybe you'd finally snapped from all the stress. So you immediately assumed I was capable of killing our child? That's what you think of me?" "I don't know what I thought. Mom was so convincing." "Your mother traumatized our son, and you helped her frame me for it." Dorothy got 18 months in federal prison for kidnapping and lying to federal investigators. At sentencing, she stood before the judge, still trying to justify herself. "I was protecting my grandchild from an unfit mother," she said. "She feeds them processed food. She lets them have too much screen time. She yells when she's frustrated. I was doing what was best." The judge's response was swift and harsh. "You put a 7-year-old in a car trunk. You let his mother be investigated for his murder while you had him. You traumatized that child and nearly destroyed his mother. Your actions were criminal, not protective." Mark got 12 months. During his allocution, the truth finally came out. They'd planned to keep Brody at the cabin for a week, then find him and claim I'd abandoned him there during a mental breakdown. They wanted to prove I was an unfit mother so Philip could get full custody in the divorce they assumed would follow. "She was never good enough for my son," Dorothy told the judge. "I was protecting my family's future." Philip and I tried counseling for 6 months. Dr. Patterson did her best, but some betrayals cut too deep. Every time Philip questioned my parenting or even mentioned his family, I saw him in that FBI office nodding along as they accused me of murder. Trust, once shattered into that many pieces, doesn't glue back together. We divorced a year later. I got full custody with Philip having supervised visitation. My trust in his judgment was gone forever. Skylar became my hero, though she'd probably roll her eyes at that description. Her quiet observation and love of documentation saved both Brody and me. "I knew you didn't hurt Brody," she told me one night as I tucked her in. "You cry when you accidentally step on his Legos. You cried when his goldfish died. You'd never hurt us on purpose." Her nature documentary won the Elementary School Film Festival that year. She added a dedication at the end. "To my mom, who taught me to always look for the truth, even when it's hiding in the background." Brody still has nightmares sometimes. He won't get in any trunk, even to help load groceries. Therapy is helping, but Dorothy's game left scars that will take years to fully heal. He won't visit Philip if there's any chance of seeing his grandmother, even though she's in prison. My family apologized profusely for doubting me. Renee cried for weeks. My father couldn't look me in the eye for months. But apologies don't erase that moment when everyone I loved believed I could hurt my child. We're cordial now, but we'll never be close again. Dorothy writes me letters from prison that I burn unopened. Mark moved to Florida after his release and hasn't contacted us. Philip remarried last spring to someone his mother would have approved of. Someone who probably makes homemade organic baby food and never raises her voice. Every 4th of July, instead of family reunions, we go camping. Just the 3 of us. Skylar films wildlife for her YouTube channel. Brody builds elaborate stick forts and tells anyone who'll listen that his sister is going to be a famous director someday. And I watch them, grateful for their trust, their love, and their unshakable belief in me when the rest of the world was ready to lock me away. Some stories end with forgiveness and reconciliation. Mine ends with truth and freedom. We're a smaller family now, but we're real. No lies, no manipulation, no conditional love. Just us 3 against the world, which is really all we ever needed. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and share it with others who might need to hear that family isn't always who you're related to, but who stands by you when the world turns against you. Comment below if you've ever had to choose between toxic family and your own children's well-being. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more true stories about survival, betrayal, and ultimately, triumph. Thank you for listening to our story.